Hi, I'm Ben, and when I was 14, I met the love of my life. I was walking towards my locker when we bumped into each other. Her books scattered across the floor, and when we both bent down to pick them up, our hands touched. We straightened up immediately, both blushing and embarrassed by the sudden romantic turn of events. Hi, I'm Ben. I'm Jasmine. I apologized and bent down again to pick up her things, and this time, too, she did the same. Our foreheads collided so hard we were both thrown on our backsides. We couldn't stop laughing at our bad timing. That led to me helping her up. Her hands were so soft, and her cheeks were flushed. I wanted to walk her to her class, but she was so embarrassed, she rushed off before I could even introduce myself. That was the last time I was able to be that close to Jasmine. She was a new transfer, and the moment everyone else heard about her, she became very popular. How could she not? She was beautiful and smart. She was mysterious, too. And I heard her dad was the richest guy in the state. I tried many times to talk to Jasmine again, but she was always surrounded by her girlfriends and all the popular boys who wanted to ask her out. Until one day, as I was lining up to get some mac and cheese at the cafeteria, I felt something tugging on my shirt. I looked around, and there she was, looking up at me with her dog eyes. I thought I'd never see you again. I could feel every pair of eyes in that place staring at us. She was the most popular girl there, and she was talking to me. A nobody. A theater nerd. Despite everyone else's judgments, Jasmine and I became the best of friends. We spent a lot of time together, laughing and sharing stories and having lunch together. She always wanted to be around me that her popular friends started getting jealous. You better get away from her. Yeah, she's ours. But no matter what they said, I didn't abandon my best friend. One day, Jasmine invited me over to have dinner with her parents. Oh, I was so nervous. I dressed up in my finest shirt, I shined my shoes 3 times, and I got a nice haircut. When I got there, I realized I was scared for nothing. Mr. and Mrs. Vanderplatz were very nice. They welcomed me into their home and smiled and sat me down for dinner. The food was phenomenal. Wow, Mrs. Vanderplatz, your cooking's amazing. If my mom cooked like this, I'd never leave the house. He's a funny little boy, isn't he, honey?
My wife would never touch anything so vulgar. We just have the privilege of having one of the country's best chefs. And he costs us a pretty penny.
I can cook if I wanted to. I just don't have time on my hands. What about you, Ben? What do your parents do? Nothing as fancy as your jewelry business, Mrs. Vanderplatz. My dad's a mechanic, and my mom works at a laundromat. Oh, how quaint.
Very, noble jobs.
But as soon as dinner was over and I said my goodbyes to Jasmine, her parents turned to me. Mrs. Vanderplatz grabbed my arm and dragged me to the door. You are never to see my daughter again. You hear me? But why?
I'm glad my daughter has made friends, but your kind of people are the kind we want to avoid for her. You may have fooled her, but you won't fool us.
I have no bad intentions towards your daughter. We're best friends. And we'd rather she find a new one. Someone who isn't the son of a grease monkey and a laundress.
What will it take, huh? $1,000? $10,000? Name your price, but never show your face again.
I was so scared that I avoided seeing Jasmine from that day on. She tried to catch me, but whenever I'd see her, I would run and hide. She texted me and called, but I never replied. My parents needed their jobs, and I couldn't forgive myself if Jasmine's parents came after them like they said they would. I'd fallen in love with Jasmine, and the hardest part was I couldn't tell her. And now, it's just gotten worse. One day, as we were getting ready to put on a play, our leading lady called in sick. Our director looked at me. I shook my head in protest, but I was in Betty's costume in less than 5 minutes. I reasoned with the director that there were other girls who could play the part.
You wrote the script, Ben. You're the only one who knows the lines by heart.
They put me in a dress, put a wig on me, and did my makeup. And when I saw myself in the mirror, I was shocked. I transformed into a very pretty girl. Dang, if I wasn't sure I was looking at my own reflection, I'd ask me out. Our leading man looked at me in the mirror.
I'd ask you out.
I looked at Jake, and Jake looked at me, and there was a very awkward silence. We shook our heads. Don't make it weird.
You're making it weird. Don't blame me. No, it's really confusing.
We went on stage and the play was a success. People were standing up and cheering. When I got off stage, girls surrounded me. Even the ones who looked down on me before. They had no idea it was me. Oh my gosh, you were amazing! Who are you anyway? Have never seen you here before. Are you new to town? You should definitely have lunch with us. And then, shyly, she came forward. Hi, I just wanted to say you were amazing in the play. I hung out with those girls, but only after school. I would run to the theater's dressing rooms, I'd borrow one of the dresses, put on the wig, and put makeup on myself. When I got out, I was no longer Ben. I was Bella. We would go to movies together and gossip about boys. We got milkshakes and had our nails done. Which was kinda embarrassing because the nail technician at the mall told me in front of everyone that my nails were horrendous. Oh well. We all became very close. Never imagined I would be friends with Kara or Lily. But all I really wanted was to be around Jasmine again. If only I could tell her. It was the only way I could be close to Jasmine again. And it worked. For a while. Until we all went to the amusement park. I didn't want to go on the roller coaster for a reason, but the girls dragged me and wouldn't take no for an answer. The ride started, and I could feel my heart pumping. I only wished that the wig would stay on. The roller coaster whizzed through a loop-de-loop, and I felt it detach from my head. Luckily, everyone else was screaming for their lives and didn't notice. I caught it on time and secured it again with a pin. The ride finished, and we all got off. I was so relieved that I didn't get busted. And then I saw the girls' faces. They were all pointing at me. Who are you? Your face. At the very end of the roller coaster ride, there was a huge waterfall that we went under. It was barely a splash for us because I was seated at the very back. But when I looked at my reflection on my phone, I saw what had happened. My lashes were clinging for dear life. My wig was intact, but you could see my real hair underneath. My makeup was all gone. Jasmine held my face in her hands. Ben? She slapped me. Liar! My parents were right. You're all liars. I bet you wanted to get close to me for my parents' money, and you just wouldn't stop at anything, would you? I was so in shock, I had no idea what to say. I watched them walk away, and I just stood there. Jasmine didn't go back to school for weeks. Kara and Lily told everyone that I had been dressing up as a girl, and that just made my life even harder than it already was. I had to delete all my socials. I had to transfer schools. It got so bad that we had to move. Mom and Dad both got fired from their jobs. No doubt as a consequence of Mr. and Mrs. Vanderplatz finding out that I'd made contact with their daughter again. I felt so bad that Mom and Dad had to work so hard to get new jobs again. My brother had to leave his friends behind. All because of me. So, I quit school and started working. Funnily enough, I found a job at a theater. As a janitor, I mean. It's not acting in theater like I'd always dreamed of, but at least I got to watch the professionals do it. One rainy evening, as I cleaned up after dinner, a knock came at our door. Mom and Dad weren't expecting guests, and my brother and I knew nobody from our neighborhood, as we'd just moved in. So I opened the door, just a crack. But before I could see who it was, the door was pushed wide open. I fell backwards onto the floor. The rain blew in and lightning flashed, so all we could see was a shadow for a split second. But when the lightning stopped and the thunder settled down, I saw her. She held out her hand, and I could see tears running down her cheeks. Jasmine? She hugged me and held me tight. My parents told me they offered you money to stay away from me. They told me you took it. And I was so broken-hearted for so long. I thought when you dressed up as Bella, I thought it was just another scheme to get more money from my parents, but I heard what happened, and I found out you never took a penny from them. They were the liars, not you. I'm so sorry, Ben. I'm glad you finally know the truth. But you came here in the middle of this storm? You know you could have just texted me. I ran away. I wanted to say sorry. There's nothing to forgive. But I forgive you. Wait. What? You ran away? I wanted to be with you. I couldn't spend another day with my lying parents. And I couldn't go on without telling you that this whole time I've been in love with you. And I just never had the courage to tell you. She hugged me. It was the best feeling in the world to know that the girl I was in love with loved me back. I kissed her as the wind and rain rushed around us, and Jasmine's been living with us ever since.